Today I'm up in the Trumansburg spot working on some cleanup and tidying, handing off some plants to folks, hopefully getting some plants in the ground since the ground is thawed. And I'd like to make some update videos while I'm up here. One that I will plan to talk about in more detail is how our woodland barn is evolving. It's a little bit of a mess right now. We have some materials cached all around. That'll be its own video soon enough. We're in the home stretch of getting the roof metal on, getting the bracing on, and then we'll start figuring out the interior. What I wanted to focus on in this video was this privacy barrier / windbreak along the northern line of the property. I think came out so beautifully, so inexpensive, and so accessible. Let me explain more details. This project's happening right near the northern boundary of the property. We have neighbors to the north of us. We've laid up brush walls in the past, in part to kind of create a natural boundary. It's where they lay up their brush as well. It's a way to deflect deer and the like. We're starting to add a bunch more trees and bamboo, things like that, into this common hedgerow on our side of the property line by a little bit. But this infrastructure just feels so gorgeous to me. Cost, I think it was just about $0. We bartered for this orchard fencing, which I'll look at in more close detail in a moment. And in a past video, I showed some photos where we found at a local materials dump where people were encouraged to drop off leaf bags and the like. Somebody had brought a few truckloads of miscanthus, so we didn't even have to harvest any of the miscanthus yet from our landscape to weave this. This is all quote unquote trash that someone delivered to a dump and put in a pile, reformed into basically a woven basket of a fence. You can see the skeleton in there a little bit. There's metal T-posts that we got, I think either for free or used for a few dollars a pop. I think actually free. They're in a hedgerow somewhere, and we traded with a fencing company. This might be worthwhile for folks to make some cold calls to people that install fences where you live. Do they ever have leftover rolls? Can you either trade them? We traded them for plants and consultation, and we got these sections, too short for them to install in projects, but good enough for us for different things. 10 feet here, 25 feet there, that kind of thing. And that's attached to the metal T-posts, and then the miscanthus very informally woven through. We did bundles of 10-ish in the same orientation, and basically went behind a panel and then in front. Not every one, but just, to the best of our ability. Clearly it's not mathematically driven. It's just a little bit of a pattern. And then we get them down towards the bottom. Some of them are touching, some are not. And we did every other one, so there's an opportunity for wind to get through, so it's not a solid wall, so it doesn't get blown over. We've had some intense winds happen, and it seems very sound. And I think in part it's because it's somewhat porous. But my gosh, the breeze going through it sounds so good too. It sounds as good as it looks. I mean, when you look at it in the plane like this, you can really get a feel for how potent of a visual barrier it is and how much influence it has on wind that's coming through as well. It really calms the breezes. Just on our side, on the south side of this, now we've got this light colored, wind blocking, light reflecting physical infrastructure that we know will not last forever. So we're thinking through the next layers here. And Juan and I the other day added in, we dug up some Japanese plums that we had growing in another spot. We've added in shipmast black locust all through here with hardy kiwi to climb up the shipmast black locust. There's a bunch of sea buckthorn and autumn olive. There's elderberry, there's currants, there's some chestnuts in here. There's pawpaws that we're going to add in. So there'll be a whole hedgerow that in the long run will create the persistent living elements of a visual barrier for our neighbor's sake and for ours, so we both get privacy. But in the meantime, while we're building this barn, while we have, materials laying around, I feel sometimes a little embarrassed if there's like debris or, we try to stay tidy, but I don't know if they want to be looking at IBC totes, in the winter landscape. Maybe they'd prefer just seeing this gorgeous woven basket of light colored material that sounds really nice too. And the fact that it'll slowly break down over time, all the different vines that are associated now with the bottom of this will be fed by that fencing material as it falls down. Where Sasha and I live, our new neighbors are installing an entirely 100% pressure treated fence that only goes 6 feet tall. It smells so bad, so chemical laden, and I'm going to guess it probably was no less than $10,000 for them to install the fence. And I think about that in reference to this, which is all scavenged and repurposed local materials that, as they biodegrade, will fuel the desires of the next level of long-term perennial elements that will help make even more strong visual barrier and boundary. They'll feed birds, they'll feed us. It'll be an invitation for the neighbors as those plants migrate over into their landscape to enjoy them. Clearly, squirrels are starting to move hazelnuts over there. They harvested all of these, and they've got a big old lawn on the other side of that I'm sure is slowly but steadily getting planted out to chestnuts and hazelnuts that the squirrels are taking from this landscape. It's kind of sweet. They left a few for us. That's cool. Thanks. But anyway, yeah, this woven wall idea. Maybe where you live, are there people cutting down bamboo? Are there other waste streams? Are there landscaping services that are doing fall maintenance on landscapes where they're cutting back ornamental grasses? There's all sorts of opportunities to weave dead or senesced biomass into thoughtful orientation to create some extremely formidable visual barrier and windbreak that, at least to me subjectively, is a really beautiful installation. We'll be sharing an update, I think, once we get the roof on here. The barn's well on its way, and it feels nice and it feels relaxing to know that we put in the priority to put in this visual barrier for our sake and our neighbors, just to kind of buffer and smooth out the visual impact that they might be experiencing. Even though fully, by all accounts, we have the right, it's on our own land and blah, 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 it just feels more respectful to visually make more mute and relaxed their experience as they look out past their property line. Seems all arbitrary anyway, but they can look at this for a while, and then they'll be looking at beautiful hardy kiwi berries and grapes and elderberries as this breaks down, and so will we. And maybe by then we'll have a more robust relationship. Maybe there'll be more opportunity to be sharing and strategizing on food security and interrelationship, interdependence. For now, we'll just give them privacy, give us privacy, and return the extreme value of these miscanthus grass by asking them to hold this position for probably 3 or 4 years. Thanks, miscanthus grass. Thank you, waste stream. Thank you, visual barriers and windbreaks.